What do you do when life breaks you? When betrayal, loss, or failure rips through your soul like a cold blade? Do you cry? Or do you rise colder, smarter, and more dangerous than before? In this video, we uncover Machiavelli's brutal law of mental power, how to train your mind not just to survive destruction, but to turn it into domination. They say pain breaks people, but that's only true if you were soft to begin with. In truth, pain doesn't break you, it reveals you. It shows the parts of your mind that were untrained, untested, and weak. And once you see it, there's no turning back. Machiavelli never romanticized human nature. He knew that life, by its very nature, is brutal, and he warned, only those who understand cruelty and are willing to confront it will survive the political game. The same applies to the mind. Your mind is not strengthened by peace. It's hardened by chaos, shaped not by comfort, but by conflict. A man's real power is revealed when he is stripped of every illusion, every safety net, every hand to hold. When the lies he told himself about love, about loyalty, about fairness are torn away by betrayal, failure, or loss. That is the true beginning of mental strength, the moment of collapse. Because let's be honest, you don't build an iron mind when everything is going well. You build it when everything falls apart. When people you trusted walk away, when your plans fail, when life without warning burns down everything you built, that is the forge. That is where your mind must either harden or disappear. Most people pray for relief in moments like these. They seek pity. They want someone to save them. That's where they go wrong, because life doesn't care. It doesn't send saviors. It sends storms. And every storm is a test, not to see how much you can suffer, but to see whether you'll evolve. If you're paying attention, suffering becomes strategy, pain becomes information. You realize what was holding you back wasn't the world, it was your softness, your assumptions, your naivety, that you thought people would always be loyal, that love was permanent, that effort alone guaranteed reward. All lies. Lies you needed to unlearn, and pain is the only teacher ruthless enough to tear those illusions from your grip. When a man is broken, he's not being punished, he's being given an opportunity to become something stronger. But most will miss it. They will waste the moment, drown in emotion, self-pity, blame, addiction, distraction, anything to avoid looking at the truth, that this pain is a mirror, and it's asking a single question: who are you? Without the mask, the Machiavellian mind doesn't avoid this mirror. It stares directly into it, coldly, calmly, without panic, because it knows this is the real moment of transformation, not the victory. Not the applause, but the silence, the defeat, the destruction, where everything familiar is gone, and all that's left is raw potential. You see, when you're shattered, you are no longer limited by what you were. You can become whatever the situation demands, but only if you stop wishing to be rescued. Only if you accept that adversity is not a curse, it is a tool. It strips away comfort, and with it, all weakness. And in its place, it offers you the one gift that peace never can, the unshakable clarity of who you are and who you must become. Anger, fear, sorrow, love emotions are the most powerful forces in human nature. But Machiavelli understood something that most never will. If you let emotions rule your decisions, you hand your mind over to chaos. You become a puppet of your own impulses. And worse, you become vulnerable to manipulation by those who understand you better than you understand yourself. There is no true strength in uncontrolled emotion. What feels like courage is often just rage. What feels like love is often just dependency. What feels like loyalty is often fear of abandonment. These emotions, if not mastered, will enslave you. They will whisper beautiful lies and drag you into weakness dressed as virtue. Look closely at history and you'll see the pattern. Kingdoms destroyed by jealousy, empires brought down by pride, powerful men undone not by their enemies but by their inability to control the storm within. Machiavelli didn't just study power, he dissected it, and he saw clearly those who ascend and stay there are not the most emotional, they are the most disciplined. cold, strategic, and calm when others panic. You may think your emotions make you human. That's the lie. What makes you truly human, what separates you from an animal, is your ability to observe an emotion without obeying it, to feel pain but not react with weakness, to feel rage but not strike blindly, to feel love but not kneel for it. When you achieve that control, you don't destroy your emotions, you weaponize them. A man who can control how he feels in moments of crisis is more dangerous than an army. He doesn't flinch, he doesn't beg, he calculates. While others are drowning in emotion, he watches, he studies, he waits, and when the time is right, he moves not with passion, but with precision. That is mental power, that is Machiavellian. Think back to the last time you acted purely from emotion. Maybe it was heartbreak, maybe it was betrayal, maybe it was anger that made you speak or act without thought. What did it cost you? Who gained power while you lost control? This is not about morality, it's about results. The world doesn't reward emotional chaos. It rewards composure, ruthless composure. And if someone can provoke you easily with a word, a look, a silence, they own you. Understand this deeply. Anyone who controls your emotions controls your behavior. And if they control your behavior, they control your outcomes. You will never be free until your feelings serve you, not the other way around. This is not about becoming emotionless. That's a fantasy, but it is about becoming emotionally sovereign. Your anger becomes your warning signal, not your master. Your pain becomes your intel, not your excuse. Your sadness becomes your silence, not your prison. The Machiavellian mind doesn't silence emotion. It commands it, like a general commands an army. Every feeling has a place, but none sit on the throne. Hope is the most seductive lie ever whispered to a broken mind. It tells you things will get better on their own. That if you wait long enough, pray hard enough, stay kind enough, the world will return the favor. But Machiavelli would scoff at such delusion. He understood that hope, when not backed by ruthless strategy, is the opium of the weak. You don't conquer hardship with hope. You don't recover from betrayal by waiting for justice. And you don't rise from rock bottom by trusting life to be fair. These are stories told to keep you passive, to lull you into obedience, to make you easy to defeat. The truth is this: if you are not thinking strategically in your lowest moment, you are setting yourself up to be broken again. Strategy is the language of power. It is not emotional. It is not moral. It is precise, deliberate, and without mercy. It begins the moment your illusion dies, the moment you realize that no one is coming to save you, that your enemies are not sorry, that life will not correct itself. From that moment forward, the only way out is through calculation. A weak man hopes his enemies will disappear. A strong man studies them. A weak man prays the pain will pass. A strong man uses the pain to map the terrain. Every betrayal becomes a data point. Every loss becomes a blueprint. Every mistake becomes a lesson in human nature, not just your own, but everyone else's. Because strategy isn't just about fixing your life, it's about mastering the battlefield that caused the damage in the first place. This is the core of Machiavellian thinking. You do not act based on what should happen. You act based on what does happen. You do not cry for what you deserve. You calculate what you can take. There is no room for wishful thinking. Only observation, adaptation, and execution. When you're broken, you don't need comfort, you need clarity. Ask yourself, who benefits from my weakness, who used my emotions against me? What part of me trusted the wrong people, the wrong promises, the wrong fantasies? These questions aren't pleasant, but they are necessary. Because every time you answer them honestly, you sharpen your mind. You become less naive, more dangerous, harder to read, and impossible to exploit. Hope tells you to wait for opportunity. Strategy tells you to create it. Hope whispers that someone will notice your value. Strategy commands you to become valuable where it counts. Hope says time will heal you. Strategy says time is a weapon, use it or be used by it. The cold strategist doesn't wait for signs. He becomes the sign. While others talk about what they wish would happen, he's already 6 steps ahead, moving pieces no one even sees. Even when your heart is bleeding, you must think like a ruler, like a general, like a shadow behind the throne, because the world doesn't run on feelings, it runs on moves. And if you're not playing the game, you're being played. If you're not plotting your rise, someone else is plotting your fall. The moment you stop relying on hope and start building your strategy, everything changes. Not because life becomes fair, but because you no longer need it to be. The worst mistake you can make after being broken is to rebuild yourself as who you were. That version of you, the one who trusted too easily, who loved without caution, who believed in fairness, is dead. And that's a good thing, because who you were got destroyed. Now the only question is, who will you become in the ruins? Machiavelli knew power wasn't given. It was constructed deliberately, relentlessly, and without emotion. And he knew that rebuilding is never about restoring what was lost. It's about designing what was missing. When the walls fall, when your reputation burns, when your heart is shattered, and your soul dragged through the dirt, that's not a tragedy. That's an opening, a blank slate. A chance to rebuild yourself with intention instead of illusion. But this time you don't rebuild with softness. You don't use hope, dreams, or forgiveness as your foundation. You use reality, brutal, cold, undeniable reality. What did your suffering teach you? What weaknesses were exploited? What patterns led you here again and again? And more importantly, which part of you allowed it to happen? This is where ruthlessness begins, not in the world, but in the mirror. You have to kill the old tendencies, the part of you that wanted to be understood, the part that needed to explain, the part that begged to be loved by people who had already chosen to discard you. Those parts must be buried, because they are liabilities. They were the access points for betrayal, disappointment, and destruction. If you keep them, you are rebuilding the same structure that just collapsed, only with weaker walls. Ruthlessness doesn't mean cruelty toward others, it means discipline toward yourself. You don't chase apologies, you don't return to old circles, you don't explain your transformation. You make decisions like a sovereign, calm, final, indifferent to opinion. You don't waste time proving your worth. You build worth so undeniable that the world is forced to respond. And if it doesn't, you continue without it. Most people rebuild emotionally. They want closure. They want peace. They want validation. Machiavellian minds rebuild strategically. They want leverage. They want power. They want independence from the systems and people that once held them captive. And every move they make is designed to create one thing: control, not over others, but over themselves. Because once you control yourself, your reactions, your habits, your thoughts, your time, no one can ever truly control you again. The world may test you, but it can't trap you. People may betray you, but they can't break you. You've already been broken once. That lesson is paid for in full. Now every scar becomes armor, every loss becomes structure, every silence becomes focus. The new version of you doesn't explain, doesn't chase, doesn't flinch. It watches, it calculates, it moves when it's ready. And here's the truth: rebuilding with ruthlessness doesn't make you inhuman. It makes you precise, it makes you unshakable. You become someone who cannot be manipulated by love or fear, by guilt or doubt. Your emotions still exist, but they're not steering the ship anymore. You are, and this time you're building for war, not peace. You're not hoping for understanding, you're engineering resilience. Every decision is sharper, every boundary is stricter, every word you speak carries weight, because now it's backed by something real, something no one gave you, something you bled for, something you earned alone in the dark when no one was watching. You've been broken by betrayal, by loss, by life itself. But if you've listened closely, you understand now that was not the end. It was the beginning. The beginning of something colder, smarter, more dangerous. You were not meant to stay shattered. You were meant to rise with precision forged by pain, led by reason, and protected by ruthlessness. Your mind is no longer a victim of chaos. It is a fortress. Emotions don't rule you, they report to you. Hope doesn't guide your steps, strategy does. And you do not rebuild as who you were, you rise as who you must become. Not gentle, not naive, but sharpened, disciplined, respected. This world is not moved by those who feel the most. It is moved by those who think the deepest, those who suffer, then study, those who fall, then plot, those who are crushed but do not crawl. They rise, quiet, focused, unstoppable. So the next time life breaks you, remember this: that pain you feel is a signal not to give up, not to beg, but to train. And from that pain, you will not return as you were. You will return colder, and with that cold comes power,